Something is broken. Right now, at this very moment, the atmosphere over North America is doing something meteorologists say they've rarely seen this extreme. Temperatures are spiking 40 degrees above normal. Arctic air masses are collapsing. And a storm system is organizing that could bring everything from severe thunderstorms to blizzards to catastrophic flooding, all in the same 72-hour window. This is the Valentine's Day collapse. And nobody knows exactly how this ends. Let me show you what's happening. 3 days ago, much of the eastern United States was locked in a deep freeze. The kind of cold that makes your breath freeze mid-air. The kind that kills car batteries and bursts pipes. Cities from Minneapolis to Memphis were reporting temperatures 20, 30, even 40 degrees below normal. It was textbook February Arctic air, dense, heavy, seemingly immovable. Then something changed. Within 48 hours, that same air mass began to disintegrate. Not gradually, the way weather patterns typically evolve, but suddenly, violently, like someone had flipped a switch in the atmosphere itself. By this morning, temperatures in places like Chicago had surged from the teens to the 50s. In St. Louis, thermometers read 68 degrees, warmer than most April afternoons. Even cities along the Canadian border were experiencing conditions 40 degrees warmer than just days before. This isn't normal warming. This is atmospheric chaos. To understand what's happening, you need to understand how weather patterns usually behave. The jet stream, that massive river of air flowing west to east across North America, typically maintains a relatively stable pattern for days, sometimes weeks at a time. When it dips south, we get cold. When it bulges north, we get warmth. But these transitions happen gradually, predictably, over the course of several days. Not this time. What meteorologists are seeing right now is what they call a regime collapse. The entire upper-level pattern that had been locked in place, keeping that Arctic air bottled up over the eastern United States, has completely broken down in less than 72 hours. In its place, a new pattern is emerging. And it's bringing something far more dangerous than just warmth. The same atmospheric dynamics that are pumping all this warm air northward are also creating the perfect conditions for a major storm system. One that's already beginning to organize across the southern plains. One that could affect nearly every region of the country before the week is over. But here's what's keeping meteorologists up at night. They can't agree on what this storm is going to do. In a normal weather pattern, forecasters can look at computer models and see a relatively clear picture 3, 4, even 5 days out. The models might disagree on details, exactly how much snow, precisely where the rain-snow line sets up, but they generally agree on the big picture. Not with this system. Right now, the world's most sophisticated weather models are showing wildly different solutions. Some depict a massive storm tracking up the east coast, bringing flooding rains to the southeast and potentially crippling snowfall to the northeast. Others show the system stalling over the Midwest, creating a multi-day rain event with severe weather potential. Still others suggest the entire thing could fracture into multiple smaller systems, spreading impacts across a broader area but with less intensity. This level of uncertainty this close to the event is rare. And it's not because the models are broken. It's because the atmosphere itself is in such an unstable state that even tiny variations in initial conditions are creating massive differences in outcomes. Chaos theory in real time. What meteorologists do know is this. Something significant is coming. The question is just how significant, and where. But the eastern storm system isn't even the only threat developing. While all this is happening over the central and eastern United States, an entirely separate atmospheric phenomenon is taking shape along the west coast. An atmospheric river, a narrow corridor of tropical moisture stretching thousands of miles across the Pacific, is aiming directly at California and the Pacific Northwest. These rivers in the sky can transport more water vapor than the Amazon River carries in liquid form. When they make landfall, the results can be catastrophic. Over the next 72 hours, some locations along the California coast could see 8 to 12 inches of rain. Mountain ranges could receive several feet of snow above 6,000 feet. Rivers that have been running low all winter could surge toward flood stage within hours. For a state still recovering from years of drought followed by last year's atmospheric river onslaught, this is exactly the kind of whiplash event that pushes infrastructure to the breaking point. Levees that held last time might not hold again. Hillsides stripped bare by recent wildfires have nothing to anchor the soil when it becomes saturated. And unlike the uncertainty plaguing the eastern forecast, this western threat is becoming clearer by the hour. The atmospheric river is locked in. It's coming. The only question is whether it strikes as a manageable rain event or a catastrophic flood maker. That depends entirely on how quickly the moisture arrives and how long it lingers. Right now, models suggest it could linger for days. Now let's talk about the southeast. As this Valentine's Day storm system begins to organize over Texas and Oklahoma, it's pulling moisture northward from the Gulf of Mexico at an alarming rate. Dew points, a measure of atmospheric moisture, are forecast to surge into the 60s across portions of Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia. In mid-February, that kind of tropical moisture colliding with the remnants of that disintegrating Arctic air mass creates exactly the kind of atmospheric instability that spawns severe thunderstorms. And that's exactly what's forecast. By Thursday night into Friday, a squall line of potentially severe thunderstorms is expected to race across the deep south. Large hail is possible. Damaging winds are likely in some areas. And given the extreme wind shear in the atmosphere, the change in wind speed and direction with height, tornadoes cannot be ruled out. In the middle of February, during what's supposed to be the quiet season. But the severe weather threat is actually just part of the story in the southeast. Behind that initial squall line, widespread heavy rain is expected to continue for another 24 to 48 hours. Some locations could receive 4 to 7 inches of rain before this is over. Rivers are going to rise. Creeks are going to flood. And because the ground is already saturated from recent rainfall, that water has nowhere to go but into streets, homes, and low-lying areas. Cities like Nashville, Atlanta, Birmingham, and Jackson are all in the zone where significant flooding is possible. If you live in the Northeast, your forecast is the most uncertain of all. As this storm system tracks eastward, and remember, meteorologists still aren't certain exactly where it's going to track. It will encounter colder air lingering across Pennsylvania, New York, and New England. The battle between warm and cold air will happen somewhere. The question is where. If the storm tracks farther south, cold air wins. Major cities from Philadelphia to Boston could see significant snowfall, possibly measured in feet for some interior locations. This would be a Valentine's Day blizzard for the record books. If the storm tracks farther north, warm air surges in. What would have been snow becomes rain. Heavy rain. The kind that creates flooding problems compounded by rapid snowmelt if there's existing snowpack. And if the storm tracks right down the middle, you get the worst of both worlds. A narrow zone of heavy snow on the cold side. Flooding rain on the warm side. Ice where the two air masses collide. Right now, cities like New York, Philadelphia, and Boston are sitting right on that knife's edge. 12 hours from now, the forecast could show a foot of snow, or it could show 2 inches of rain. The people living in these cities are about to experience one of the most consequential forecast busts of the winter, one way or another. Either they'll prepare for snow and get rain, or prepare for rain and get buried. And there's still not enough certainty to say which. Now let's talk about what all of this actually means for people. There are millions of Americans right now making plans for Valentine's Day weekend. Dinner reservations, travel arrangements, outdoor activities, normal life continuing as normal. But by Friday evening, tens of millions of people could be dealing with weather-related emergencies. In California, families in flood-prone areas are watching forecasts and wondering if this is the storm that finally forces an evacuation. They're remembering last year. They're looking at their go-bags. They're checking their insurance policies and hoping they won't need them. In the Southeast, emergency managers are quietly prepositioning resources. Utility companies are bringing in extra crews from neighboring states, knowing that if severe thunderstorms develop as forecast, power outages could affect hundreds of thousands. Storm shelters are being checked. Tornado sirens are being tested. In the Northeast, grocery stores are starting to see runs on bread and milk. The pre-storm ritual that happens whether 6 inches or 6 feet is forecast. Schools are already announcing potential closures. Airlines are issuing travel waivers. People with Friday flights are rebooking for Thursday, just to be safe. And across the Midwest, where the storm's exact track matters most for their impacts, people are simply waiting, watching, refreshing weather apps, checking social media for updates from meteorologists, knowing that something is coming but not knowing what. This is the psychological toll of atmospheric uncertainty. Here's what makes this event particularly concerning from a bigger picture perspective. We're seeing these kinds of extreme pattern swings, from record cold to record warmth, from drought to flood, from quiet to violent, with increasing frequency. The atmosphere is becoming more volatile, more prone to rapid transitions, more likely to produce events that fall outside historical norms. This Valentine's Day setup is a perfect example. Yes, winter storms happen. Yes, atmospheric rivers hit California. Yes, severe weather can occur in February. None of these things individually are unprecedented, but all of them happening simultaneously, with this intensity, with this level of temperature anomaly, with this much uncertainty in the forecast. That's what's new. That's what's different. Climate scientists have long warned that a warming atmosphere doesn't just mean warmer temperatures. It means more energy in the system, more fuel for extreme events, more potential for rapid intensification and pattern collapse. We're watching that play out in real time. And the models that struggled to predict this pattern shift 5 days ago, those same models are going to struggle the next time this happens. And the time after that, because we're entering a regime where the old rules don't always apply, where historical analogs only get you so far, where meteorologists increasingly find themselves using words like unprecedented and exceptional and beyond model range. This is the new normal, and we're all still learning how to forecast it. So here's what you need to know right now. If you live anywhere from Texas to Maine, from California to the Carolinas, the next 72 hours are critical. Do not ignore weather warnings when they're issued. Do not assume that because the forecast has changed 3 times in the last 2 days, it's not going to verify. The uncertainty in the forecast doesn't mean nothing will happen. It means something significant will happen, we just don't know exactly where yet. If you're in a flood-prone area and forecasters say heavy rain is coming, believe them. Move cars to higher ground. Check your sump pump. Clear your gutters. Know your evacuation route. If you're in the severe weather zone and the Storm Prediction Center issues a watch, take it seriously. Have multiple ways to receive warnings. Identify your shelter location. Charge your devices. If you're in the potential snow zone, prepare as if the worst-case scenario will verify. Stock up on supplies. Fill your prescriptions. Make sure you have heat and food if you lose power. And if you're in one of those knife's edge cities where it could go either way, snow or rain, flooding or freezing, prepare for both. Because you might get both before this is over. This storm system is going to affect someone severely. Multiple regions, in fact. The atmospheric river is definitely hitting California. The severe weather threat in the southeast is real and increasing. The northeast snow or rain scenario will resolve one way or another. And somewhere, people are going to be dealing with significant, possibly dangerous impacts. The uncertainty is where, not if. By Monday morning, we'll know how this played out. We'll know which cities got buried in snow and which got drenched with rain. We'll know if those atmospheric river totals in California reached the catastrophic range or stayed merely significant. We'll know if the severe weather outbreak materialized as feared or remained scattered and disorganized. We'll have the answers that we don't have right now. But by Monday morning, it will also be too late to prepare. So this is the moment. Right now, while there's still time to get ready. While stores are still open and roads are still passable and power is still on. Because one thing is absolutely certain. The Valentine's Day collapse is already underway. The pattern has broken. The storm systems are organizing. And the atmosphere, unpredictable as it is about to deliver something significant to millions of people. The question isn't whether this event will be notable. The question is just how notable it becomes, and where you'll be when it arrives. Stay alert, stay prepared, and keep watching the forecasts as they continue to evolve. Because this story is still being written, and the next chapter begins in the next 24 hours.